coher, co, what's that word?
Coercion.
Covert, coercion,
Mm-hmm.
and evidence tampering, as well as misleading forensic evidence, led to Sean's wrongfully conviction. He was fully exonerated in 2021 after spending nearly 22 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, and his story is now the subject of the Netflix docu-series Trial 4. So, good morning, Sean. How are you today?
Good morning, my sister. I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. I am, it's a tragedy on the things that have happened to you and Steve when he gets here. Other people, that we know, that that have been wrongfully convicted. And, I mean, I don't want to ask you how you felt, but I do want to know the process that you went through, because you did 22 years for something you didn't do. And you could have been bitter, you could have been angry, but you came out and you started doing work in the community. So tell us a little bit about, your background. If you want to talk a little bit about. Now, when did Trial 4 come out?
Trial 4 came out in 2020.
Okay, so and that was a documentary about, you had 4 trials, literally 4 trials.
Well, I had 2 mistrials, which means that the jury couldn't agree on the verdict.
Okay.
Well, that was a hung jury. The jury couldn't agree on the verdict. That happened twice. And then I was brought back to trial a third time. At that time, the jury found me guilty. And then when I overturned my case, the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office was threatening to bring me back to trial a 4th time. So that's the fourth trial.
And so I know your attorney, Catherine, was her first name Catherine?
Rosemary
Capizio, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she did a great job. And I see you're still affiliated with the Innocent Project, because
Absolutely.
There are a lot of brothers and sisters behind the wall that have been wrongfully convicted. And to me, it's sad and it's terrible. It's just like, if this is happening a lot, and so as part of the Innocent Project, what exactly are you doing to help other brothers? Are you helping them come from the wall? What are you helping them? What's going on?
So the work of the New England Innocent Project is like a 3-prong work, a 3-prong approach. The first work, and I think extremely important work, is overturning wrongful convictions. That's directly dealing with the people who are still incarcerated on wrongful convictions. The second prong of the work is policy and advocacy work, whether it's policy advocation or legislative advocation. It's like we advocate for changes in laws that will help to prevent wrongful convictions from happening in the first place.
Right.
The third prong of the work that we do is done through the Exoneree Network, which is to provide reentry services for our brothers and sisters who are coming home on wrongful convictions and long-term confinement. So like that's work from direct financial assistance to mental health support, trying to get them like some case management, health care.
Right. It's a lot.
Yeah, we try to go above and beyond in helping our people coming home, because what people don't realize is that, like, after you come out the courthouse and your arms are in the air and you have that joyous moment, once your arm goes down, right, things start to set in, and so you start having problems adjusting back out here in society, because
things have changed. For one thing, 20 years, that's a big difference.
Things have changed, but in the Exoneree Network community, when we look at our community members, on average, the Exoneree Network community members have spent 28 years in 3 months in prison for crimes that they didn't commit.
Do.
You know what I mean? So that's what it is on average, and so that's a long time to spend in prison and away from society. So coming back out here, it's like
it's different. I know.
Things is drastically different.
Yeah.
And you go through some internal turmoil trying to readjust.
Yes. I know that it's very hard. I just can't imagine being in jail for 22 years for something that I didn't do. It's bad enough when you go to jail for stuff you did, but and you're innocent, that's just a whole new ball game.
It's a different kind of torment that you have to deal with. Like, you're in an environment where you have to adjust to your environment, and you can be put in situations that you necessarily don't want to be in. But you have to try to toe the line, and deal with things inside, like kind of deprive yourself from your own humanity to have to like deal with that environment. Like, I had to kind of unplug from my emotions. So when I first went in there, I was very upset.
Right.
And I had to deal with those feelings, and then once I dealt with those feelings, I had to deal with the feelings of abandonment. People being there in 1 minute and not there the next minute. I had to deal with the dehumanization of being strip searched and how that made me feel. So it was better for me to try to unplug or separate from my emotions than to be bombarded by all of the emotional stimuli that I was encountering.
Wow. So were you in Norfolk? Were you? Did you know Nika Elugado?
I didn't know her while I was incarcerated. I started the sentence at Walpole, and I was at Walpole for about 4.5 years, and then I was moved from Walpole to SBCC, which is essentially a lockdown facility, and I was there for 9 years, locked in a cell for almost 21 and a half hours a day. After that, I went to Norfolk, and after several years at Norfolk, that's when my case got overturned.
Okay. So tell us, when you got out, what type of, what is the work that you're doing now? I know you said that you're helping returning citizens. Are there programs like New Beginning for Men?
Not that I'm aware of.
That would be good if they had a program for men. Because I know Stacey Borden is doing some great work. It's funny, me and Raymond Gaines were in 4th grade together, and the fact that he spent all that time incarcerated is just
over 4 decades.
Yeah, 42 years.
Yeah,
wrongfully convicted.
Exactly, and to have to get out, and to have the district attorney's office still not want to acknowledge the wrong that was done in the case. So it's like Raymond Gaines and like Tommy Rosa. Tommy Rosa, he's another gentleman that's facing the 4th trial. Right? It's like, at what point do we as a society say, well, what about the harm that this elected official or these elected officials are doing, bringing innocent people through a process that they know is not right. Having held exculpatory evidence, knowing that so-called experts are giving opinions that aren't accepted by the scientific community, knowing that police are lying. Like, at what point does morality come in and say, you know what, I can't go forward with this prosecution because it's wrong. It's based on false evidence. It's based on faulty evidence. Whatever it is, going forward is wrong. It's like some people rather just hold on to the verdict of the jury, right, as being final, rather than just taking a step back and offering a re-examine.
Right, looking at the evidence.
Exactly.
Looking at the evidence.
Exactly.
Just like I know that was it the Annie Dugan case or something, where she, all these cases that she wasn't even testing them, or she was doing something wrong, and so I just don't understand what makes a person do something like that. I mean, I know that a lot of the police officers back in that day were corrupt. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is, and so there was a lot of evidence not brought forth, was it, or so? your family. I know your family must have like been like, what, you know? I mean, it's hard to go through something like that, you know, and then be able to get out and come out and be able to basically pick yourself back up, you know, restart your life and move forward, you know. But I know there must, you know, I'm not saying that you have any anger or bitterness, but you seem to be like you know, on point, you know, like this happened to me, but I'm not gonna let it keep me down, you know. I'm gonna pick myself back up and continue doing the work.
So I mean, it happened to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I came home, one of the first things that I said is that I wasn't the only one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to be involved in this work and to be doing this work, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's the hope and the goal is to one, get other innocent people home, but then two, to try to prevent it from happening again. If people don't know that it happens in the first place, right? Or people see my case as like a one-off, like, okay, it happened to Sean, but it doesn't happen. Like that's
To other people.
right?
Yeah.
That's a problem, because the reality is that it is a silent epidemic that no one's talking about, as you know, Steve has been saying as recently. It's a silent epidemic that no one's talking about. Much like the crack epidemic that hit the inner city. That was an epidemic, but no one was talking about it until it started to hit suburban neighborhoods, right?
Right.
And so when we look at the value that's placed on like Black and brown lives, right? Then like that's a problem, and we need to speak about it. We need to bring it to the forefront.
Exactly. I know. So I know that some of our elected officials, like on the state level, go into the prisons, and I know Nika was working with like Steve and some other people. They did a report, and it when they come in, like when the elected officials come in, right? Do they like meet with all of you all? Do they meet with some of the people? How does that work?
Yeah. So first, I want to give a shout out to Ricky Fuquan McGee, who was instrumental at Norfolk in O'Colony, but especially at Norfolk in the work that he's been doing with the AACC and the Harriet Tubman Project.
Right.
Because like part of what he does is try to bridge the community with the inside community of people that's doing time, and so that started to happen like once I came home. So I wasn't involved in that part of things. You know, when I was in prison, the advocacy that me, Fuquan, like Darryl Jones, and others were doing was pretty much not allowed by the institution. So we was trying to advocate for people. We was trying to help people get their life together under the threat of being put in a hole. And it wasn't just us three. There's people like Supreme and Mac Hudson that was also involved in like just doing on the ground grassroots advocacy in prison to help people. So that's what kind of makes it easier when we come home to continue on in that work, because we have decades of doing it behind the wall.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So what do you see like in your future? What would you like to see? Like as far as how can we stop these wrongful convictions, and what does it take? Does it take removing the elected official, or does it take?
Well, we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to the DA's election. As a community, I can't stress it enough how important that election is. Not just on us, but our loved ones as well, right? Because when I look back and I spent 22 years in prison, and there were different administrations that was in control of the district attorney's office in Suffolk County,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And people know what happened. People knew what happened. People know that there's evidence that's hidden. People know that some police lie.
Mm-hmm.
People know that forensic evidence is false. But it was allowed to exist,
Happen. Mm-hmm.
right? And then when you look at the era, the Rachel Rollins era,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what she did was open up her files.
Mm-hmm.
She opened up the files in the DA's office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And allowed for defendants' attorneys to come in and have access to the files.
Mm.
And when she did that, you started to see that there was a problem. You started
Right.
to see that these convictions lacked integrity, right? So when you fast forward and then she leaves office, right, and then you have somebody else that's in office, right, and that open file policy is closed, right, and wrongful convictions, like you start to limit the information that becomes available to the people that's incarcerated, and then you start hearing less and less and less about wrongful convictions, and you gotta ask: is it because they've stopped and all the innocent people are home, or is it because they've gone back to business as usual, right? Which is the pre-progressive era, and that's what I feel that it is. Is Rachel Rollins is gone, the sharing of information has tightened up again, and then now it make it harder for people to prove their innocence because the evidence that was once being hidden is now back to being hidden again.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Steve.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm
I'm so sorry you
No,
went.
listen,
I thought you had been here before,
no,
so
and you know, not being home that long, sometimes the GPS I understand it, and sometimes I don't. So
I'm
I
sorry,
guess
but
there's
I'm-
a couple Washington streets around here.
there's too many Washington
Yeah.
Street. But now you know where we at. So,
Yes.
I'm so glad that I finally get you on. So I've been trying to get you on my show for 4 years. Because that's when I saw Fourth Trial, that's when I wanted to get you on my show, but I could never get in touch with you. So it's been 4 years I've been trying to get you on here.
I don't even understand how that was allowed to happen.
I don't either, but I'm glad you're here.
We know too many of the same people.
Yeah, I know.
Indeed.
But I'm so glad, I'm so glad that you guys are here to talk about the injustices that have been done. Steve, you spent 28 years of your life wrongfully convicted. Let's talk about that.
Well, I'm still Commonwealth versus Pena. So I'm free but still fighting, and I tell a lot of people, I spent 28 years behind the wall, but this time that I'm waiting for a decision still counts. So for me, it's 30 years, 6 months that I'm wrongfully convicted. Today
Because they haven't released you.
Nah, I'm waiting on a judge to make a decision on overturning the conviction. So waiting on that, and sometimes that's difficult. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's because the decision could come any day, and we're very hopeful. And I try to maintain the positive side of it. You know what I'm saying?
You're doing some good work.
I'm trying. Today I felt, after yesterday's event, I felt that I should wear my brother's shirt, man, because, I'm wounded, but I'm not broken.
Whose shirt
You know what I'm
is it?
saying? This is
Sean?
size. This is Sean's shirt.
Wounded
But yeah, yes,
not broken.
and it's like that every day. Like I said, some days are better than others. Some days I wake up and I'm just in a state of depression, and I keep that in mind. Like, yo, you wounded, bro, but you're not broken.
So you brothers, I saw you you all get an award from Darren Howell, who's another powerful brother who I love. And so how did that make you feel when Darren presented you all with those awards?
I was honored. What I do out in the community, or what I do for my community of exonerees and wrongfully convicted. I don't do it for an award.
Right. I know, but
It does feel good when someone recognizes you, someone like that, to give you an award for your resilience to be out here talking about wrongful conviction, talking about post-incarceration trauma. It's not easy work. It's tiresome. A lot of times I don't have time for myself because it's hard to say no. You know, when you get the call from inside to be over here, to go to this court hearing, to go to this parole hearing, it's really challenging. So to be recognized, to get that from him felt very good. And for some reason, although it was a joyous day, that day, I don't know what was wrong, but it was just
emotional, maybe
the mental. I wasn't in the right
state of mind.
Yeah, and I couldn't pinpoint why I was feeling the way I was feeling. You know, I should have been much more but it was. I sometimes I can't just.
I can't imagine being in jail for 28 years for something that I didn't do. But you brothers have gotten out, and you all have, been doing work in the community, trying to support the community. So Sean was saying that we need to we need to look at the DA race. So the current DA that's in there now, you're saying it's kind of like before Rachel Rollins, before she came in, it's kind of like went back to what was going on before she left or after she left.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't.
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't want Steve to be the owner of my words.
Okay.
Like what I say, I can stand on it. You know what I mean? But it's kind of going back to the status quo, right? Rachel Rollins ran as a progressive district attorney, not soft on crime.
Right.
That wasn't her mantra. Her mantra was not to be soft on crime, but it was to be progressive. And what does it mean to be progressive, right? But what it is now is it at the very least feels like, and people in this community and that's doing this innocence work, kind of are seeing. Signs that things are what they were prior. So we've gone back to the old status quo or the old good old boys club, so to speak, right? And just because you have a black person there, or a person of color there, right? That's not
that doesn't mean
that's not an automatic pass,
right.
Because if you're there, it doesn't matter if you're black, brown, blue, or green, right? If you're maintaining a ideology, if you're maintaining a culture that's of an old system, right? Of oppression,
right,
and of corruption and of wrong, then you're not.
Yeah, why are you upholding it?
Right,
continuing to uphold it.
You're not doing service in furtherance of the community,
right,
as a whole, not just the black community, not just the brown community, but the community as a whole. Because one of the things about wrongful convictions that I've said in the past is that I don't know that you get closer to chattel slavery than a wrongful conviction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what people don't want to know, like some people don't know that there was a variation of white slavery too, right? So when you look at it, you have black people that's wrongfully convicted, brown people that's wrongfully convicted, and white people that's wrongfully convicted. I don't know that you get any closer to chattel slavery than a wrongful conviction.
Right. Because not only are you there for doing something that you didn't do, you're there. And there's like how am I going to get out of this?
There is no reprieve. Like your protection is the law, but it's the very law that's being used to put you in a position that you shouldn't be in to begin with.
I know.
So it makes you. It sometimes makes you not even believe in what the law says, and you.
Kind of want to create your own laws, huh?
Yeah,
Change them.
You want to.
Yeah.
You try to use, what they put in the books, but not all the time do they follow what they put. It's like sometimes they can't get out of their own way. You're writing something and you're reading something that says, no, this shouldn't have happened, and then you put it in emotion, and they find a way to circumvent it, to look at it around, or to say, oh yeah, that was a excuse me, harmless error, or you waived that. And then you have to understand, not a lot of guys in prison understand the law. It's difficult. I learned from a few brothers, including Sean, how to understand certain things. But we don't, we leave it on our lawyers, and our lawyers are so bombarded with cases that they can't give it the attention they give. So if they miss something, the court says, yeah, well, you waived it. No, I didn't waive it. I didn't, I'm dependent on someone who's trained to do this, but you holding me accountable.
Right.
And it makes it more difficult to get out. There's, Rada, who's the director of the Innocence Project, says there's 3 things that have to happen for a person to get out of prison on a wrongful conviction. One is you have to have a good issue. You have to have a good judge, and you have to have a good attorney. For those 3 things to come together is usually how it happens.
Okay.
If one of those is off, then it's, it makes it tougher. You can go on and on and on and on, and
And what does it mean to be a good judge, right? I think it's a fair question, and it isn't just a judge that's gonna rubber stamp overturning of a case, right? But it's a judge that's gonna weigh, balance, and measure, right, the new argument versus an old narrative, and be open-minded enough to understand that wrongful convictions do happen. The system is not infallible, right? So although we hold on to this horrible doctrine of finality, right? We still need to have enough flexibility to correct wrongs that happen within our criminal legal system, right? And that's what I would begin to explain or express as what a good judge is, right? Because a judge is really the final administrator of law, the recipe, the referee in the ring between the prosecution and the defense to make sure that everything is supposed to be fair and supposed to be right. And when you're confronted with evidence and information that the old narrative is a false narrative, is a lie, is a fabrication, then you have to be willing enough to come to the table with someone of open mind to weigh, balance, and measure the new information that you're hearing.
It's one of those things, and I've probably had this conversation with Sean, and I have this with my attorney all the time, and I had it with him when we were fighting my case. When you get convicted and the courts look at your case, they say, we're looking at this in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth. We're going to look at this most favorable to the Commonwealth. So years later, when we're appealing and we're rebutting what the Commonwealth said, I've always said or always felt that the court should say, okay, we looked at this in the light most favorable to the Commonwealth, got him a conviction. He's now coming in to rebut and show that what the Commonwealth did was wrong. Why can't they look at it now in the light most favorable to the defendant? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you've already looked at that. You've convicted me for something I didn't do. Now I'm telling you, here's the real narrative. I'm showing you where I'm saying what they did was wrong, what they did was unjust. I need you to look at this in my...
Right.
And a lot of times they continue with that. And then they say, you put in your motion and they're supposed to review it under 278-33, what is it, 233E, as a miscarriage of justice. And they'll look and they'll say, okay, you had a fair trial. There was no, you had a fair trial. There was an error, but it was harmless, and justice was done.
Was it harmless?
And then you get a Sean Ellis who gets his case overturned, gets exonerated, and then you look back and you say, well, apparently he didn't get a fair trial. The errors that you said were harmless were harmful, and justice wasn't done. Who drops the ball at that You know, who dropped the
Right,
ball?
right. So you all have been doing this work, trying to help people who have been wrongfully convicted. Have you all been doing any work with the returning citizens?
Yeah, you know, those wrongfully convicted are returning citizens because they've been gone. I try to, when I can, help guys that are coming home just from incarceration, because there's a trauma that comes with that. And a lot of guys, you know, the physical incarceration, coming out of the physical bondage of incarceration, that weight comes off your shoulder because you're home. But then walking out the courtroom or walking out the prison, there's another weight that gets on your shoulder that you may not even realize.
Because it's so different.
It's
You've been away
different.
for a long
Yeah,
time.
and now, I know for me there was, you know, I came home moving 100 miles an hour. Like I was, you know, I didn't know if I was going back. I was, and Sean would be like, "Yo, slow down, slow down," and he would always say to me, "You hard headed. You don't listen." But I'm the type where I bump my head, but I realized, you know, recently that he's been home longer, and he's trying to save me. He's trying to give me shortcuts, so it doesn't take me
It's long.
6 or 7 years to understand it. But again, there's times when I'm hard-headed. So when guys come home and I talk about, you know, I'll tell them like, "Yo, you home, welcome home, but understand, yo, there's gonna be some things that," and dudes be like, "Yo, chill, let him get," nah, man, he need to understand off the rip, there's gonna be the reality of freedom was gonna kick in. And it may take you, when it kicked in for me, the reality of actually being home, being able to go where I wanted to go, it kind of sent me in a state of depression. Then the reality of responsibility kicks in, where we haven't really had responsibility other than to survive and try to get out of prison. But now there's bills, there's appointments you got to make. That kicks in, and it again for me, and I can only speak to me, I was depressed for a little while because, you know, realizing that. So I try to let guys know, like, yo, I've been here. This is what happens. It may not happen to you right away, but it's gonna happen. When that happens, get in touch with me. You know, try to figure it out.
So let me ask you, do you all have some type of group that you all do group discussions that you all meet on a weekly or bi-weekly basis? How does that work?
Well, for me, I go to Yard Time, which is Joseph Bennett every week at the Tobin Community Center, Men's Mental Health Awareness Group. And then the Exoneree Network, we have a support group that meets, I think, quarterly.
Periodically.
Yeah, and it's good. You know, there's a difference between meeting with guys and talking with guys that have been wrongfully convicted than it is in a group of guys who haven't been. Our mental, like when I came home, I have a cousin who did 20 years, and I would say to him, "Yo, Cy understands me, or Sean understands me a little bit better than you do." So when I would wake up feeling a certain way, I would call Sean. Like, "Yo, I remember Mother's Day, my first Mother's Day, I woke up and I'm sitting on my mother's couch and I'm crying because I woke up and I didn't feel anything." First person I called was Sean. And "Bro, I understand you don't feel anything, but he's like, let's just save the memories of today. Like, what's gonna happen today? Because we all took our mothers out together. Like, just focus on that." I went into the room, my mother's room. I sat on her bed, and she saw the tears. She said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Today's Mother's Day, Mom. I don't feel anything." And she looked at me and she said, "Me neither." Because for all those years, we had to suppress the holidays and learn how to deal. But I called him because I knew that he'd probably been through this too. And being wrongfully convicted, being an exoneree, he understood me more than my cousin who, you know, went to prison for something he did do. So it was different.
It is a difference when you go. I would say there's a big difference.
You asked about like support groups and stuff, and if we work with returning citizens, and as Steve said, we work with each other as a community, but there's also brothers that's home now doing great work with people that were in prison for crimes that they did do, like life after prison, and Mike Curry. So we're out here trying to provide a service to our people who are coming home, and it's just a matter of getting more attention on that type of stuff, and getting more support for it. You know what I mean? So that's one of the beautiful and promising things is that people are coming home, and they're looking to get involved in this work, and ultimately it's going to help to save our community.
Right, and our children and our children's children.
Exactly, and so it's just a matter of are we going to continue to support those people that's doing the work? Are we going to continue to acknowledge them and lift them up and encourage them to continue to push forward?
Right, because if no one had helped you all, where would you all be? Probably still incarcerated, right?
Ain't no probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that you all you come out and you're doing work, but you're not only doing work with wrongfully convicted, you're also doing people that will actually were convicted. And are you like in a way changing their mindset, having them look at, like it different, like what they did, and how are they gonna? Because there's one thing when you do something, you do your time and you get out and you try to move forward. But when you didn't do it, that to me just is like, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it.
But and it's almost individualized. If I can try to say it in that way, right? So we was all in prison together. We was
you, Steve, Joey, and Mac.
And so when I say prison, we was all in the custody of the Massachusetts Department of Corrections. At some points, we might have all been in the same institution, but coming home and doing this work and being involved in this work and seeing one another in the work, right? It's kind of like providing hope to our other brothers and sisters, saying, listen, like I can come home and kind of put myself on a path that doesn't result in me going to prison. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
I
it's like being an example for others.
I feel like a lot of reasons why brothers do go back to prison, because when they get out, they can't get a job. If they lived in public housing, they can't go back to public housing. They can't do student loans. It's just like once you have a record, they want you to continue to be punished even after you've served your time. And so what do? You go back to what you know if you have done that. But if you're innocent, then you have to kind of like prove yourself over and over again. And that to me doesn't, like, I feel like with this, because this isn't just happening here in Massachusetts and Boston, it's happening everywhere. The new Jim Crow, I mean, basically they're saying that slavery is only if you're incarcerated. So what do? They incarcerate us, right? Wrongfully, whether we did it or not, and it's just to keep us enslaved. But not only does it keep our physical body enslaved, it keeps our mind enslaved. And that's why we, especially as black people, have a lot of mental health issues that we don't like to deal with. We're like, oh no, and I'm not gonna go see no psychiatrist. I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. But no, we're not crazy, but we have issues, mental health issues that we haven't been able to deal with, and so we do things that maybe we shouldn't, or we do things that we think is right and may not be right. But I feel like the system that we live in is under a white supremacist system. That's how I feel. That's what I see. Being born and raised in Boston, being here all my life, being an advocate to support my community. It's just some of our elected officials need to be gone. You know, so it's a lot of things that's going on right in our community. If we think about it, they're taking our hospitals away. They're taking our Walgreens away. We asked for elected school committee. What do we get? Crickets. You know, the thing, you know, de-restriction, all this stuff that is happening. And they're expecting us to be, oh, yeah, happy-go-lucky and stuff. You know, when we're inside, we're hurting. Outside, we're hurting. Our families are hurting. So I think we really need to, like, as people, really start looking at voting, for one thing, getting some of these people who are in office who don't really care about us or just pretending. And we need to make some changes. We're getting ready to enter 2025. And so some people have been incarcerated since like 2000. And like some people come out, they don't know how to use a cell phone. I mean, well, now probably because, things are modern. But I remember my brother, when he got out of prison, he didn't know how to use a cell phone. Because he was in and out. And so these types of things, they should be given back, especially if they're wrongfully convicted. So I appreciate you all both coming in and telling your story, because I know, it's not easy, I mean, I never did no real time. I was in Framingham about 2 weeks, but other than that, I ain't really did no.
That's time.
Yeah, it's definitely time.
I know, but listen, compared to you guys, that ain't nothing.
But
I mean, really.
It's that day was time.
Mm-hmm.
And that day on top of another day, on top of another day, on top of another day becomes years, right? But what you experience in that day, in those 2 weeks, is just a perpetuation over decades, right? But the dehumanization, the unsanitary conditions, the oppression, like the dehumanization, just all that.
Yes.
So it's I only say that to say that 2 weeks was time. That one day is time, and it just gets perpetuated for those who are there longer.
Because you can't get that back.
Right.
They say that's the one thing that you got no control over is time.
Time, right.
And the trauma from that, the trauma from entering the prison, having to strip, having to do things, having to lock in, having to be there with someone that you don't want to live with, that is traumatic. Everybody's trauma is different.
Right.
But it's still trauma.
Right.
Go ahead, bro.
Going to sleep in an environment where you have to try to do your best to still stay some kind of degree of conscience while you sleep. That's a different reality to try to live, and it's a traumatizing one. You can't even sleep comfortably.
Right.
It just it's for him to talk about sleeping comfortably. My apartment, the door slides shut like a prison cell. I can't sleep with the door open. If it's cracked and I notice this, I gotta get out of bed and close it, because, and I hate to use the word, I'm not gonna use the word, there was a safety when the door was closed in the system in prison.
Right.
When the door is closed and it's locked, you're in there and okay, can't nobody else get in here, and so there was a safety with that, where you could sleep a certain way, because after a while, being in there so long, you get, there's a Japanese word for it, and his brother, this guy told me what it was, I don't remember, but he said we get so used to the sounds of doors closing, guys yelling, keys jingling, just certain things within the prison system that you hear that you begin to learn how to sleep through. Then you come home and those sounds are different. Completely different sounds that you have not been used to, and it makes it more difficult to sleep. So like he said, when you can't lay your head down in a place, and there's a reaction to that. So that 2 weeks you did, you ain't never gonna forget it.
Yes, I won't. That's why I brought it up, because you can't forget things like that. But it's been a long time, and I just but I really feel like that what you all are doing is great work. Next week I got Mac and Joey on, so I'm trying to get all you all guys in, because your stories are important, and young folks need to hear your stories. Like my two young guys right there, they need to hear your stories, because something can make you go one way and something can make you go another way, and so it's just a matter of who do you look up to, who do you respect, and who helps you, who supports you, and our young generation nowadays, they really need a lot of support, and they just into their, uh, every time, when I see folks, everybody got that, it's just if you don't have nothing else, you have your phone, right? Because now it's like the mini computer. You have everything you need in it, So I really appreciate you guys coming in, I definitely, when my class will start back up in January, I definitely would like to have you all guys come in and just talk, encourage our young people. 5 minutes, that's all. Boy, time goes by when you're having fun. Pastor, you haven't even said anything. You don't want to say hi, hello?
Yeah, we definitely got to reach out and try to help the youth so that they don't go to, as I say, the university, the DOC. It's very important that they don't think being incarcerated is a badge of honor.
Mm.
And I think that was the thought of prison for so many years, that if you did time, I went to the big house, it gave you up. Yeah, that's
not true. That's
false narrative.
Yeah.
And things are getting worse in the Department of Corrections, as you can see with the incident with Susan Baranowski.
Is that the old Walpole?
No,
Susan?
that's the
Norfolk?
Supermax in Shirley.
Oh, I thought they closed Shirley.
No, Shirley
No.
Max is still open.
They closed Walpole and Concord. And so, and as much as Steve brought up the situation at SBCC, it's I don't condone the violence, period. However, I will say that having been there for nearly 22 years, I have not seen one day in the nearly 22 years that I was there.
You got a call?
I did not see one day where someone woke up and said, I'm going to go jump on this seal for no reason, just because I'm having a bad day.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sister Priscilla.
Good morning, Grace. I think you got like 2 minutes.
I know. Thank you for all you do. I just calling in to support the talk this morning and to say that, we need more support groups in our neighborhood.
Definitely.
Hello?
Yep, we're here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I said yeah, definitely.
I'm also just encouraging those brothers that their experiences and the innocent mass incarceration of our people right here in Boston, that they should be a part of the reparations research work that's being done. So, because those harms and against the people here in Boston needs to be a part of that research, the reparations research. And I encourage the brothers to keep on doing what they're doing, and the community to embrace this work and help to expand it.
Thank you, Grace, for calling in. I
Have a good
appreciate
day.
it. Yes. Hopefully we'll see you this evening.
Yes, you will.
Okay. Yeah, so how much time we have, Pastor? If they want to, so give your information in your organization, and then Sean, you give your information in your organization in case someone wants to reach out to you guys.
Well, I'm on Instagram, PinaSR.S, and also on Instagram on other_side of the wall. Have a business, NMW, Never Not Working Enterprises, which I'm never not working to advocate for wrongful conviction and post-incarceration trauma.
Thank you.
And I can be reached at